Well, when Amendment 3 it came through the House actually in 2019 and in this past session as well, I voted no. I voted no, and I did that mainly because my voters voted no. One advantage that we have on the House floor is that we've got a computer there, and so when I have questions about what my voters and how my voters stand on things, I can actually go into the clerk's office, clerk's website, and I can look on there and I can see how my voters voted. I was in favor of Amendment 1, and I thought the voters were misled in having it called Clean Missouri. Many voters that when I knocked on the door, they said, sure, of course I want clean water. And so the voters, I'm not sure, knew what they were actually voting on. I didn't really think it was going to make the ballot because I thought it was unconstitutional, having more than one issue on an amendment. Regardless of all of how I felt about it, my voters voted no. And so when it came to a vote on the floor, I voted no. A lot of my colleagues that were there, it votes when your vote is cast on the floor, it shows up on the big boards either red or green. Well, I'm colorblind, so red and green I can't see, and so my colleagues were sitting around and saying, you know, Dave, your vote really is pretty obvious there. And I said, well, I'm voting along with my voters, and if it had been closer, if it would have been 51-49, I might have gone ahead and voted yes because I can explain to them why I did. But with that kind of overwhelming support of it, I didn't feel like I could do that. The amendment that's coming up on now, I'm in favor of Amendment 3. I am simply because of the redistricting. I think that if we don't do that, I think a lot of the districts that, especially in the metro areas, I think a lot of the African American community is going to be disenfranchised. I think the way they're going to have to draw up the districts, they're going to lose a lot of representation. And I think it's important for them to have that representation, and especially in the inner city. And so for that reason, I'm in favor of it. But when it came to the floor, I did vote against it. My district in particular, I don't think it's going to be that affected by it. I really was not in favor of Medicaid expansion either. And one of the main reasons was if it would have come with a funding tool, I would have been all for it. I think that we've got to find a way that we can expand our health care to everybody that we possibly can. But we got to be able to pay for it. So what Medicare expansion is going to do for us, it's going to force us in the legislature and in the Senate to find other ways to pay for it. So other programs are going to suffer because of that. Right now, we've got a third of our entire population in the state of Missouri that is on Medicare and on Medicaid. And the expansion of it to include what they say are going to include children, that's been addressed. I think Todd Richardson has done a really good job as the director and has really found a lot of fraud that's involved with Medicaid. If we can get rid of that, and I think the Attorney General and I think they've recovered over $28 million in fraud already. But as far as my district goes, I don't think that we're really that affected by it. But I'm really concerned as to how we're going to pay for it statewide. I think we've done everything we possibly can do. You know, there's not a playbook that you've been given. There's not a script that you can go by as to what you're going to do and how you do it. I think you got to take advice from the best people you can surround yourself with, and to be able to find out how we've done it. I think when we look back on this 10 years from now, I think we're going to look and say that we did a pretty good job. I think when we came out and when it really broke out in February and March, and they were predicting the number of deaths that we were going to have nationwide on this, I think we found that that's not true. I think we've taken the precautions that we need to take to prevent the spread of COVID. And I think that we're continuing to do that today. I think that we, as individuals, I think we need to take personal responsibility for what we do. If you go into a place and they say to wear a mask, wear a mask. I know that when my wife and I back in February or in March, when we were quarantined and we were able to go out one day a week to Walmart at 6 o'clock in the morning and be there, I'm in that older group that were able to go there and shop at 6, and virtually everybody that went in had masks on. We had gloves on. We maintained our social distance. We were respectful of other people's space, and I think that in my part, I think that helped prevent further spread of it. I'm really not for mandating masks. I'm really for freedom, but I think each individual community has got to make their own decision, and I'm really all about local control. I'm also about liberty and being able to decide for yourself what you can do, but you've got to be able to protect your neighbor and protect your family. Well, I think there are a lot of things we can do, and I think the governor has some really good ideas in some of the bills that he brought forward. I think that the concurrent jurisdiction, I think that really ruined the bill for as far as the House goes. When it went through the Senate and passed through the Senate pretty overwhelmingly, that part was not on there, and when it came to us, it was. And when our leadership looked at it, we decided we needed to have more time to be able to address it. And I think that each one of those issues is important. Each one should be debated and should be heard independently. And I think that by trying to do it in a special session when you only have 2 or 3 days and you're trying to get things done quickly, I don't think that was the right place to do it. I think that there are some issues that we need to take care of. I think that we've got to try and get guns out of the hands of children. I think we've got to be able to protect those children that are being used to be implements for violence. And where does that begin? I have no idea. It's a cultural issue, I think, and I think we've got to be able to try and address that. Both sides of the aisle need to be able to address it. And I think a conversation that we can have with the Republicans and Democrats where we can find a viable solution that's good for everyone. I think that's where the real change is going to happen. For us to have red flag laws and for us to take guns away from people, that's not the solution. We've got to try and find some real answers to questions about what we can do inside of our communities, what we can do to try and to get kids off of the street. Let's let kids be kids. I mean, we're not when you've got 12-year-olds that are shooting officers, when you got 12-year-olds that are shooting their own friends because they don't belong to a gang, those are issues that are deeper than the surface. We got to be able to dig into those. I don't know that the legislature can legislate that good behavior. I know we can't, but at least I think we can set an example.